the guy that she cheated with left his wife and 4 kids for her. I asked her, you know, what's going on, and she finally admitted it. And she packed her stuff that night, and she packed her stuff to go and be with him, and walked out the door with me and the 2 kids in the house. So.
What's going on, people, and welcome back to the Baby Fathers podcast for another brand new episode. I'm your host, and I go by the name of DJ Ridler. Before I start today's show, I need you to do me a big favor. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel now. Don't forget to press the notification button so anytime a new episode comes out, you're going to be the first to know. And don't forget to like the video, all right? So on today's show, we have another special guest, and he goes by the name of Will. How you doing, my bro?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So what brought you down to the Baby Fathers today?
So just to share my story of what I've been through with the UK family court system, and just, you know, talk through what happened, see if I can help other dads out there, basically. Seen a lot of other episodes before, which helped me through the court system, which was amazing. And it's weird being here right now. But yeah, pretty much that.
Listen, I want to say thank you for coming down. Before we start, I have to put a disclaimer out there. So anything what you say today, it's your truth only. No one can't say anything different because it's coming from you to how you understand your story to be.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah.
For what you experience. All right, so how many kids do you have?
So I have 3 kids.
And how many kids' mothers?
2.
2.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about start with the first mother.
Yep.
How many do you have of her?
2.
And is that the one you're here to talk about today?
It is, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So let's start that story then. So how did you lot first meet?
So we met about 10 years ago. She was my brother's ex-girlfriend. So she was actually my brother's girlfriend at the time. Red flag as it is. It affected mine and my brother's relationship, bits like that. But we kind of just fell in love. It wasn't like she cheated on my brother. They were separated for a few years.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, you know, like
you
that.
took her from him.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. But yeah, years and years ago, she then moved to London into my flat. We set up businesses together, and then we had our first son, and then the second son within the same year. So she got pregnant like pretty much quickly after the first one.
So after what, 6 weeks?
I think it was sooner than that, but yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, they're born in the same year. So
all right. So before I even jump into that, you said about your brother and your relationship.
Yep.
Just kind of want to kind of touch on that. So when he found out that you started dating his ex-girlfriend, like a few years later,
yeah,
how come did he took it bad?
He did take it pretty bad. We stopped talking, understandable, but we've now managed to rekindle some kind of, you know, we're talking, you know.
So was he upset with you because of the fact that it was his ex?
Yeah, yeah. He had moved on at the time as well. But yeah, you know, on my side, big regrets for that. It's your own brother, do you know what I mean? But and my younger brother as well. You know, I was like 22, 23 at the time. So.
Okay. All right, cool. So at least we wrap that part up. So going back to, you have 2 kids of her now.
Yeah.
How long was that relationship good for?
I would say our relationship was actually pretty good. The duration, you know, 7 to 8 years we were together. I think every relationship has its ups and downs and arguments and bits and bobs, but you know, we worked together, worked businesses together, went on loads of holidays, like really had a good kind of life, you know, trying to build and build and build. So not every person in a relationship is perfect. I never was, and nor was she, but it seemed like a pretty, you know, solid relationship, especially from an outsider's point of view. Like people looking in, they were like, wow, you know, it's a good relationship. So yeah.
When did it go left in your lot's relationship?
I would say when we'd moved to the house that I'm currently in. So it needed like renovating. Like we went from a flat that was like ground floor, all in one room, and now I've got a 3-bedroom house, and it needed doing up. And then we had a business, and she basically cheated on me with one of the contractors that we had hired for the business. So that's where it went left, basically.
And how did you find out that?
I saw him in the car. So like I saw them in the car, like kissing or whatever down the road. You know, like, my heart dropped. Like basically when I confronted her, she was like, "Oh no, he was just dropping me back." And I just, you know, you have like a feeling, don't you? Like, nah, something's wrong there.
Did you know that something was wrong before that happened? With any suspicions?
Maybe like a week. Like she was like acting a bit strange here and there. You know, like her phone, like she wouldn't answer her phone, bits like that. So yeah, I kind of had something was up, kind of thing. Yeah. And
did you have a word with that contractor when you found out, or what was the situation between you two?
So me and that contractor, well, it was literally like I chased him down in my car like a couple of times. He tried getting my kids in his car like 3 or 4 days later, like and stuff like that. So she was like sneaking down the road around the corner, getting our children in some next man's car, and I was like, fuck this. You know what I mean? So you know,
so was that relationship became serious with them for that to happen, or was it just a fling that there was going on down there?
So the guy that she cheated with left his wife and 4 kids for her, and then I think that he engaged to her, proposed to her, but currently they're not married, that I know of. They're not even together. She's with someone else. So fizzled out, kind of thing.
Where did that leave that whole situation? Do you not at the time stayed together, or was it completely done from then?
No. So in my eyes, it was like you step out like that, it's a form of disrespect to the highest level, especially when you've got kids at home. And I'm trying to, you know, build a business, build a house in London. It's hard enough as it is. Do you know what I mean? It was just the whole respect thing. So I asked her, you know, what's going on, and she finally admitted it. She packed her stuff that night. I was angry. My brother was there as well. I kept my cool because all that was going through my head was the kids. You know, the kids are there. They're present. Keep my cool. I know this has happened, but it's like, right, I need to like move forward and know what's going on from here. And she packed her stuff, and she packed her stuff to go and be with him, and walked out the door with me and the 2 kids in the house. So yeah.
You feel like she chose him over your family?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And did she not say to you she would want to take the kids with her?
So at that point, I hadn't heard from her for like 4 days after that, apart from a few things about the business. It was never about the kids. It's always about money. Is that, you know, how much did this... It was really bizarre because it was like, your kids are there, you're going to ask how they are, do you know? Yeah. And bearing in mind, the youngest was 2 years old at the time, just turned 2, and the 3-year-old. So, yeah.
Okay, so did you confront her and say to her anything about the kids? Like, was there like arrangement between you two after that with the kids?
Yeah, so I think you get like 30 minutes free legal advice at the time. So she wanted to take the kids, but had nowhere to live. And the advice was, if the kids are in danger from the legal team, then keep them with you. I wrote a parenting plan. And what that plan was basically to say was that the kids are to remain with me until she finds suitable accommodation nearby. So I wrote it all out, and she's just refused to sign it, refused to even properly look at it. And I said, look, when you've got your own accommodation, and she's there as well, trying to come back into the home, I'm like, that's not happening. She refused to sign it. And then what happened was she moved in with a friend, a mutual friend of ours, and she let her stay for a little while, but she ended up kicking her out because of her behavior. Like, she was pretty much a nightmare with things. So she ended up actually moving to Hastings, East Sussex. So yeah.
And then did you ever stop her from seeing the kids at that time?
No. So she asked, when she asked to see them, I was always willing to go, you know, right, a few hours here and there, especially when our mutual friend, when she was staying with her, it was like, go to the park, etc., etc. Now, I believe in my heart that children need both parents in their life, mum and dad. And that was the core of what I was doing. It was more like keeping them in a stable home. She can't, you know, in my eyes, take the children to her mum's house, which was occupied by her mum, her brother, her mum's 3 kids in a 1-bedroom flat in Hastings when I had a 3-bedroom house. So it was like a no-brainer. Yeah, I never stopped her, but there was an emergency court hearing that she brought forth like a month later.
Okay,
So, yeah.
and before I even go into that emergency court hearing, did she ever say to you for you to come out of the house and for her to stay in the house with the kids?
No, she didn't.
Okay.
Yes, no.
So what happened in this emergency court hearing?
So I got a phone call one morning, and it was the court usher saying that you have court. At that point, so that was around a month later, there was hardly any contact from her side. Her goal was to take the children from my care into her care, so that's why she's done like an emergency hearing. But she always had the opportunity to come and see the kids, but she didn't. She didn't make that journey. And
what happened in that case, that emergency case?
There was allegations against me saying that I'm an alcoholic, I take drugs, and I emotionally abuse the children, and things like this. It was just, you know, these kind of allegations. Reading it, I was like, this is, you know, this is a horrible thing, because I thought it could have been a mutual understanding where she could, you know, get her own place and then we could co-parent without the system involved. But it didn't seem to work like that. She had a solicitor that I believe had, you know, this is what you need to put kind of thing. Maybe words in her mouth to get the ball rolling for an emergency hearing. But the judge, luckily I'd wrote down everything that led up to that, you know, with the parenting plan, with everything, like what the legal advice was. And I read it word for word, instead of like bringing it off the top of my head. And at the end of the court hearing, he literally said, like, it just sounds like a parent that's like trying to adjust to being a single parent and trying his best for his children. That's coming from the judge. So I've got her solicitor doing X, Y, Z. I don't know anything about the court system, trying to say this and say that, abuse and all these things. I'm like, I've never abused that woman in my life. I've treated her like a princess almost, you know. And it was like almost like a kick in the teeth, really, to have all them allegations, to say I'm a bad father and this and that. The house is dirty. The house wasn't dirty. The house was being renovated. There's a difference, which I said to the judge as well. You know, there's plastering being done, and that's not dirty, but it's being done up. And he actually said, like, he said, how is this an emergency hearing? And he's also done like a parenting plan. There's no alienation. There's so why did you take so long? And she couldn't answer the question. You know.
So did you represent yourself, or did you have someone to represent you?
I represented myself all the way through. So
okay. And just to clear this up, the allegation that she made against you, where she's saying that you're alcoholic, you're emotionally abusing the kids, is any of this taking drugs? Is any of this true whatsoever? No. Okay, cool. So from when that emergency hearings happened, the judges kind of said he's not entertaining it.
Yep.
What did he say? For the kids to remain with you after?
So the kids were to remain with me, but it was up to her solicitor, because I didn't have one, to write up something called a draft order. Now the draft order would have been, you know, for her to see them on a I think it was on a Wednesday, and every weekend, because they were both at nursery, not at school at this point. And I was more than willing to, you know, from the beginning, the parenting plan, I was like, yeah, fine, great. So after that court case had that particular one's finished, the solicitor actually wrote up a draft order that I was supposed to sign it off. I think you're supposed to, from my understanding, you're supposed to agree, both agree, and then sign it off. But this solicitor, what she did is made this draft order that I have to drive all the way to Hastings, which is 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back, 5 hours every time. She doesn't have to come up and see me or the children. So I would have to take the children in my car all the way down there. Now, that was never discussed in court. I
was about to ask you that.
It was never discussed in court. It was never, you know, even a thing, basically.
So did the solicitor put that in the who wrote that down?
The solicitor had, I believe, you know, done a little trick that I wouldn't have known about, and the average person wouldn't have known about. Maybe there's people watching this like, oh, that happened to me. That solicitor did this, or I think there's unfair practices in that way. And I ended up for a year and a half, 2 years driving up and down Hastings following a court order.
So did the kids ever ask you why they're not, mummy don't live with them?
So the youngest at 2 years old, really limited speech. 3 years old as well, pretty limited speech. They didn't ask for her. They still don't really. To be honest with you, it's like she was a great parent, a great mum at the beginning, and then as soon as she'd stepped out, it was like that was it. Like it was very, very odd behaviour, like almost a detachment from the children in a certain way. But yeah. And
then from there, was you obviously sorting out their schools and nurseries? How did that work out for you?
So I had a business, and I had staff and stuff working there. The business was going down the pan because of the stress that I was going through. That as well, like the whole full-time father thing, I just didn't think that would ever happen. I mean, the reason I feel that I've fought so hard to have the kids in my care is because like I didn't grow up with a dad, and I know how that affected me and how I felt as a young boy, and I just felt like I'd never wanted my children to go through what I did when I was younger. And she knew that as well, which is kind of fucked up, really. So to answer your question, it's like the adjustment was crazy. Get him into nursery. It might sound like pretty simple to people, like getting him into a nursery. I didn't know where to start. I don't really have family in London and stuff like that either. A few friends and stuff, but it was like, what do I do?
And was she ever financially supporting the kids when you had them full time?
So the first year there was no payment, and then she made a payment of £15 a week for a year, and she's now stopped all payments of any kind of financial payments for the past 2 months.
And was she doing that voluntarily, or did you go to CSA?
That was us actually working together. Okay. She said she didn't have much money, which is fine. People in financial situation like that sometimes, and it's like do what you can kind of thing. And if it's £15, that does the breakfast.
So you had a business together.
Yeah, that's right.
So what happened to that business when
I had to dissolve it? So I had to dissolve it. I've got a new business now, and that's going pretty well. But I had to dissolve it. She was asking for all this money and stuff like that. I had to dissolve it and start something completely new. And because of the staff members that I took on and stuff, I had to let them go, which is really unfortunate. People losing their jobs. It was a hard time, but
But was that? Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
But was that through lockdown, or was that because she cheated and you couldn't see eye to eye anymore?
That was it was actually after lockdown. So it was when things were just starting to open up. The reason why the business had failed ultimately is because we both weren't there, and I would say that it was going down the pan that way, and especially when it happened in that workplace where there was other people in there and people were talking. It was actually embarrassing for me to go walk in there like, oh, my girlfriend's been shagging the guy that does the extractor fans. Do you know what I mean? It's
did they know this?
The people in there, they
knew what was going on.
Everyone talks, don't they, and stuff. And
so they knew what was going on, but you were the last one to find out.
Maybe. I think there were people in there that might have known something was going on, but I don't think it went on for that long. I think maybe a couple of weeks, because I had that inkling as well. So, yeah. After
all of that happened, what happened from there after? Like, what was the arrangements?
I actually emailed the judge and said, look, this wasn't what we agreed. She dropped the Wednesday. She never saw them on the Wednesday, even though she said she wanted to see them. She picked them up from the nursery that I put them into on a Friday and dropped them back to me on a Sunday. That was every single week.
Okay.
So I was waiting for like the second hearing, and they basically told us to each write down what we can provide for the children, where can we see each other in 5 years and things like that, and what can we do for the kids. So I'm there like researching every single night, like obsessed, like the court system, really like I lost hair on my beard because I was stressed, I was getting bald patches and stuff. I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh shit. But I was up pretty much all night, just seeing what I can do and what to write, and not just what they want to hear, but like what can I actually provide for the kids, because in my mind, I doubted myself as a father, because it was like, can I do a good enough job compared to the mum? You know, am I strong enough to do this? Can I do that? And you know, I did have a lot of self-doubt at the beginning, but that slowly over time, definitely, is like the confidence within me has reinforced. And I just, you know, I only have to look at my kids and see how happy they are now. I'm not saying they wouldn't be happy with her, but I feel that I provide something that a stability that she still doesn't have.
Jumping from house to house with people, or she actually has her own house?
She
at that time,
she lived with her mum, and her brother and her brother's kids and her brother's girlfriend in a 1-bedroom flat. And what she wanted was the children to go with her into that environment.
When did you go back to court and then you have to then give this statement to the judge?
This was about 3 months later. It got postponed loads of times. The hearing was moved here and there. We finally got to it. And I explained to the judge, because at the time I still had the business and I was still trying to make money, keep a roof over our head kind of thing. I said, you know, about the draft order, it's really difficult for me to go and do 5 hours of driving, you know, while I've got a business to run and the children to look after. The judge seemed to not care at all what I said. It was literally like he just brushed everything I said off. An old guy with glasses. I'll always remember his face. And I just thought, like, in my head, I didn't say it out loud, I was like, you fucking arsehole. like literally, I was like, you know, I've written all this stuff down and you're dismissing everything. But I kept cool. And I think that's advice I would give any father going through the court system. Keep your cool, no matter how much you're wound up. Like, literally, just think of the kids. You know, the whole concept of losing your cool in court, it doesn't make your character look good. And that was at the back of my mind. But this judge was really pissing me off, you know.
And then how did that all play out on that one there? So
it ended with him actually putting the phone down on me, because I was talking halfway through, and you know, I was just basically saying, look, how is this fair? You know, that I've still got to do this and that, you know, trying to be professional, trying to keep my cool. And yeah, he ended up putting the phone down on me because I was talking too much.
So was there any other legal people who got involved in this before you got to the third case?
Yeah. So the first one was social services got involved because there was allegations of me being an alcoholic and drug taking, things like that. You know, the whole concept of the social services, I got a phone call from them when I was driving. We've had allegations of this. We have to follow it up. I answered all their questions. They done all their checks. They were satisfied that I was fit to be a parent or whatever, or the children were not in any harm. The children were well looked after. And I feel like my social services that were there, they were absolutely fine. You know, a lot of people would be scared or whatever, social services involved. I've never had them involved in my children's lives before, and still not.
Okay, well,
just that one occasion when I had to do the check. And I feel that they were professional and they listened to me. So I do feel.
So you had a good experience with the social workers?
I did, yeah.
Okay, wicked. Yeah. And then with Kafkas, how did you get involved with them?
Yeah, so they contacted me shortly after the second court case, or the first court case, and it was a phone call at the beginning where they just want to kind of like outline everything. It was a strange one because it felt like they were against me in a way. Like what they did is they got me into central London with the children, and they watched me and observed me the way that I am with the children. So like how I interact with them both, it was really unnatural, like someone there on a keyboard, like watching you play with your kids. It was really uncomfortable. It was crazy. And then she started interviewing me about things, and there's like stuff in my childhood that came up that I didn't know would come up. Like I went through abuse as a child, like physical abuse, and she brought it all up, and I don't know how they got all that information, but it was like, wow, I didn't know that this would be a thing. Like, anyway, went through everything and spoke about it, and she was talking about how did I deal with everything emotionally and things like that. And I just explained to her, look, yeah, my childhood wasn't great, but I want to make my children's childhood 100 times, million times better than mine. And she kind of sat back and saw someone, I think, that was just like literally just want to be a good dad, like just want to be a good dad and want to work with the mum as well. I got the report from the Kafkas just before the third hearing, the report back from the woman that was there, and I read through it and I was like, wow, this woman is actually rooting for me rather than against me, which I originally thought. The Kafka's woman, I thought she was against me and all this, and it was a glowing report. I was like, wow, like I was so shocked.
That's good though, that you've had both organisations who's seen highly of you.
Yeah.
And then when it got to the fourth case, the final hearing, what was that about?
So that was actually in person in Hastings Court. Okay. So I had to drive down there, and it was literally like, you know, like who gets custody and what the arrangements are. Now I feel that going in there, my anxiety was off the scale. I was sweating. My mum had made me this like really strong coffee, and I was like, I did a massive shit in the toilet, like all up the back of the thing. I was literally shitting myself in that in that respect, and I feel that the anxiety, the levels that I was there, it was like the fear of losing the kids because I'm a male. Not just that I'm a male, that I'm black and she's white as well. And pretty much all the judges I've had, well, all the judges I've had are white. I don't want to use the race card, but it does feel like a pretty predominantly white area, and Kafkas was the same. It was like being judged by a load of white people, and it was like this guy that we go in to see, this judge, is going to make a decision for our future.
And how many years before he made this decision you had the kids for now?
2 years.
So you've had the kids for 2 years, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years, yeah.
And now you're going to find out this is the last.
Yeah.
So what happened in there?
We went there and she looked extra calm. And he just asked what we want. She then changed her whole situation up. She didn't want to see them weekly. She didn't want to move closer to London either. So she made the decision not to move to London. She wants to stay where she is. She literally just said, I'll see them every other weekend, instigated by her. So, you know, she could have seen them more. But she said, look, every other weekend, I'll do that pretty much. And hammer went down, and it was literally like that.
So you have them 4 times. She have them every other week.
Yeah.
And is that
so? I have them 2 weeks in a row, and she has them from school on a Friday, and then drops them back to me on a Sunday. I made sure that it was her doing that traveling. I've got to work. I've got to provide for the family. You know, I've never heard of a woman having to go and drive halfway down the country. For the opposite, you know what I mean, the opposite way. You know?
Yeah.
So I made sure that was in there as well. And it went down, and it was a sigh of relief knowing that I had full custody at that point.
And then after all of that, how was your lot's relationship in terms of co-parenting? How was that after?
So at first it was very rocky. After, I would say, a year down the line, I would say it took a good year to come to an understanding where, look, let's put our differences aside, and it's all about the kids, right? And I believe now our co-parenting is so much better than what it was. In my opinion, she doesn't see the kids enough still. You know, she could come in midweek. She doesn't work at the moment. She's got all that time. Go and pick your kids up and go and take them to the park, or, you know, do a motherly thing. Yeah. But I've said that to her a few times. It's kind of it goes over her head. So at this point, our co-parenting is once every 2 weeks. She sees them. They go and have a great time, Disney parent kind of thing, you know. And I get the boring stuff. So
I know about the Disney life.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. So yeah, and then I want to touch on something, because you said something about obviously you growing up younger.
Yeah.
Was your dad around?
So my dad wasn't around. I had contact with him maybe when I was 7 a few times. It didn't go too well. He had problems of his he passed away last year.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah, and it was kind of hard for me because it was like, he was never really a dad, but I'm still at your funeral. It was quite difficult for me growing up, like trying to be a man, you know, trying to find your feet in the world. I had a stepdad that was, you know, a really good influence, but obviously it's not your flesh and blood, you know. But you know, my dad came into my life here and there, and when he was, you know, well enough to talk and stuff, it was like we never really clicked because it was too late, I feel. And I think, a shout out to the dads that actually make an effort. I feel like he didn't make much effort, and not just me, with his other children as well. And us siblings, I feel that we all feel that towards him. But there's no hatred or any blame or anything. It's like he had his own issues. And, you can't judge someone unless you've walked in their shoes, basically. All I look at it like is, I found it hard as a young kid growing up. You get in trouble because you haven't got that father figure. And I think, someone watching this, a father watching this, and you're a father watching this program, it's like, you must be watching it for a reason, because you want to be there for your kid. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching a podcast like this.
True.
It's very important that you're there for your kid, even if the mother's giving you issues. I'm lucky I didn't get them issues. Just be persistent and just be, just make sure you're kid focused. Don't worry about her. Just focus on the kids, because it's the kids that will benefit from the dad's kind of, guidance and bits like that. Every young boy especially needs a dad, or you get yourself in silly trouble,
And you said there about it. Your dad came, even so it was in and out. It was too late for you lot to try and rebuild a relationship. What age was that from?
Well, like I said, first it was like 7, but it was quite awkward. And then a couple of times in my teens, maybe like 15, 16. I just finished school, actually. So I was about 16. I'm trying to tell me what to do at 16. I'm wearing my academics. You know what I mean? Don't tell me what to do. And it was like, I had like a real serious issue when I was younger with anger, things like this. And that, I think, stems from not having that male kind of discipline to go, right, And my mum's great, but it's like,
it's a different kind of discipline.
It's a different thing. And he tried coming to me, and we got in each other's faces and stuff like that. And there was a bit of friction like that, because I'm a growing man. Like, who are you to tell me?
After years, you ain't been around
all
for
these years. Yeah. And I thought I was a man at 16. I bloody wasn't. But, I understand from his point of view, I made it difficult for him as well. And then we started talking again when he got ill. And then, by that time I was in my late 20s and I'd already had my son, and I was like, I'll just be my own man, I've got my own, so it was,
And then you're saying that your siblings, did you meet them at a later stage, or did you still kept in contact from when you was younger?
So my dad had kids from all different women.
Okay.
So like, it was a yardie, basically, Rasta man, kind of yardie. Yeah. And he had kids left, right and centre. My two youngest ones, so my son's auntie, uncle, they're like 16 and 17 now. So there's the huge age gap between me and my younger siblings as well. Yeah. But and then my two sisters that are, the two other sisters as well. So he had 6 kids altogether.
And did you lot find out about each other at the funeral, or did you lot know each other before then? We
all knew about each other, but we were never tight because we all lived in different parts of the country. Okay. But, my sister, the same age as me, she's the same age as me. We look like similar as well, which is really bloody weird. We met at 18. Yeah. And then my other sister met her a couple of years later than that. And then my 2 younger ones, I've seen them as a baby when I was 16. So when I was 16, I was in contact with him. I saw them as babies, but we're in contact now. So
that's good.
So, yeah.
Then you moved on to another relationship, right?
Going right back to when she first cheated on me, I thought, you know what? I'm going to get myself back out there. 2 weeks after, I didn't really wait around. I was like, I met this really lovely girl, to be honest, and never met someone like her. And we had a child. She's 2 years old now. Absolutely wonderful person. You go through different relationships. No one's perfect, like I said, but gentle, feminine, just motherly. Something that I've not experienced before in a partner.
And do you not live together?
We don't live together. She's got children from a previous relationship. Okay. So I've got a 3-bedroom house. For us all to be there, it would be a madhouse. Yeah. She's got her own house. I've got my own house. It works perfectly.
So does it work when the kids go to the mum? That's when you have your lot's time together. Yeah, that's how you do it then. Yeah.
Yeah. So her kids go with their dad at the same weekend, and then we've got that time together. So it's pretty like clockwork, Yeah.
So as long as he doesn't mess up on his side, exactly, and your one not mess up, then everyone's good.
Yeah. It hasn't happened that many times actually. Yeah. Surprisingly, And if it does, then my kids absolutely adore my new partner. Okay. She's very nice to them, and not replacing the mum or anything, because, you know, she's got her own family and things. But yeah, like, it's messed up a couple of times, but we get through it.
So how is it between you and the mother now? You lot are good now on a level?
So yeah, we can talk. We haven't had an argument in so long. And it's actually really, it's refreshing, you know.
You better touch wood.
I better,
touch wood. Never say.
But she was a pain. She was a pain, especially when we was going through the court thing, and she was trying to do things to piss me off. It's just, it weren't working. She weren't getting the reaction. You know, I was literally just like focused on the kids and trying to do the best I can for the kids, you know. But now, yeah, she comes to the door, drops the kids off. We can talk about the kids' school, what you know, trips they're on, things like that. A text every now and then. How are the kids? A video call here and there.
That's good.
You know, yeah, it's pretty good like that. That's so I can't fault her on that respect. Touch wood.
Obviously, before we finish, is there anything that you would like to say to any mothers out there before we get to the fathers on this situation, the story today?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'll say, if you want to step out of your relationship, great, like, do what you want, but make sure the kids don't suffer. It's not about her cheating on me as such. It was more like stepping out on her family and what we was trying to build. I know that all women aren't the same. What I would say to mothers is, look, it's very important for dads to have access, at least, because I know that goes on a lot. It's like, he did this to me, so he's not seeing his kids. That I could have done that to her. The same. It's just toxic, and it's not needed. So my advice for the mothers, both ways, look, just focus on the children. They're the ones that will suffer at the end of it. You might say things like, oh, you know, he's a waste of space, or, you know, it's not worth it. It's a load of rubbish, what you're saying, because it's like, a child needs both parents. No matter what you think of that other parent, I wouldn't badmouth my baby mum number one to them.
Kids.
Yeah, and it's like, no matter what I feel, it doesn't matter what's inside me. It's what makes them comfortable and makes them, you know, it's their mum at the end of the day.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and to any fathers who's going through the system, what would you like to say to them?
I would say keep your head up. I know it's easy to say, but do as much research as possible. I know it's time consuming, but like I said, I got full custody without spending a penny, so it's not financial. You can go and get a solicitor. It's going to cost you thousands of pounds, but just keep focused on the children. Don't worry about he said, she said, this and that, and get into some madness in the court system. Focus on the kids, what you can provide, write it down, what you can bring to their lives. And that thing, you know, like, of what can you bring to their lives, that could just be something simple like taking them to the park and playing football or playing cricket. That bonding time there, even for a couple of hours, it's worth everything to a kid. I asked my sons the other day if there's anything in the world that you'd like to do, and they said to me, go to the picnic and go to the park and play football and have a picnic. You know you're doing something right as a parent if your kids are saying that and it's not materialistic.
Agree.
So,
agree.
Yeah.
Agree. Well said, Will. I want to say thank you for coming on. Also want to say well done for stepping up and handling your business.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So listen up. Today has been a different conversation. Every week's a different conversation. I want to hear your lot's views in the comments below. Make sure you press that notification button so anytime an episode comes out, you're not going to be the first to know. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you're any father out there who's having difficulties with getting access to see your child, do check out our website, which is www.thebabyfathers.com. It's a stepping stone to try and help you to get on a ladder to try and get access to see your child. It's just information on there. All right. And while you're there, also don't forget to check out the merch. So, till next time on The Baby Fathers, peace. We're gone.